Invisible threads. The 53rd floor of the Nakamura Technologies building had its own weather system. At least that's how Olivia Reed explained it to her grandmother during their Sunday calls. While Chicago's autumn winds whipped through, the streets below, up here, the temperature remained a perfect 72 degrees. The air filtered and scented with subtle notes of cedar and bergamot. The floor housed only two offices, hers and the significantly larger one belonging to Gabriel Nakamura, founder and CEO of the company valued at just over $17 billion. Ms. Reed, the Beijing team needs the revised projections before their morning. Gabriel's voice came through her earpiece, characteristically calm yet commanding. Already sent, Mr. Nakamura. I've also prepared the board presentation for tomorrow and rescheduled your dinner with Senator Williams to Thursday as requested. Olivia's fingers continued typing, her eyes never leaving the three monitors before her. A brief pause. Thank you. 2 words. Always the same 2 words, delivered, with Japanese-Brazilian precision. Neither warm nor cold, simply acknowledgement of a job well done. In the 11 months since Olivia had become Gabriel's executive assistant, their interactions had followed this exact rhythm, efficient, professional, and entirely impersonal. At 36, Gabriel Nakamura had revolutionized quantum encryption, built a tech empire, and somehow managed to remain an enigma despite his success. The media called him the Ghost Billionaire, brilliant but reclusive, known for declining interviews and avoiding public appearances. His dark eyes missed nothing, yet revealed less. Olivia's phone vibrated against her desk, displaying her sister's name, Jenna. She silenced it immediately, knowing Gabriel detested interruptions during work hours. The phone lit up again almost instantly. She glanced at the wall clock, 7:42 p.m. Gabriel usually retreated to his private conference room for international calls around this time. Taking a calculated risk, she answered. Jen, I can't talk right. Now, she whispered. Her sister's voice came through, tight with worry. The hospital called. They're saying insurance won't cover Grandma's new treatment. They need $40,000 by next week or they'll discharge her. Olivia closed her eyes, feeling the weight of those words settle in her chest. What about the payment plan we discussed with the financial office? They said her condition is too high risk now. They want assurance. Jenna's voice cracked. Liv, what are we going to do? I'll figure something out, Olivia said with a conviction she didn't feel. Don't tell Grandma, and don't worry about your tuition. I promised Mom I'd get you through nursing school, and I will. But your apartment? Is just a place to sleep. I'm barely there anyway. Olivia straightened as she heard the elevator. Doors opened down the hall. I have to go. Love you. She ended the call just as Gabriel's tall figure appeared. He paused at her doorway, his expression unreadable as always. I thought you'd left, she said, smoothing her voice into professional neutrality. Forgot the Singapore proposal. His eyes moved to her desk, noting the untouched sandwich. You're working late again. It wasn't a question, but Olivia nodded anyway. Just finishing the quarterly compliance reports. Something flickered across his face, so brief she might have imagined it. Without another word, he entered his office, returning moments later with a folder. As he passed her desk again, he stopped. You should eat. Then he was gone, the elevator doors closing behind him. Olivia released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Opening her drawer, she pulled out her personal laptop and a stack of envelopes, bills, all with urgent red stamps. Her salary as Gabriel's assistant was generous by normal standards, but between her grandmother's medical expenses and Jenna's university costs, there was never enough. She began calculating what could be sold, which payments could be delayed, how much overtime she could reasonably take on. The answer remained the same. Not enough. Not nearly enough. What Olivia didn't know was that Gabriel Nakamura hadn't. forgotten any proposal. He had returned because the building's security system had flagged her after-hours phone call, routing a transcript directly to his phone. A privacy violation he had implemented for corporate security, but had never intended for this purpose. And as his private car cut through Chicago's evening traffic, Gabriel read words that would change everything. A devoted granddaughter sacrificing her own needs, a sister's education hanging in the balance, a sick grandmother whose life had a price tag Olivia couldn't afford. For the first time in years, the man known for his brilliant mind found himself utterly unsure of what to do next. Beneath the surface, Gabriel Nakamura stared at the Chicago skyline from his penthouse window, the city lights blurring as rain streaked the glass. In his hand, a tumbler of whiskey remained untouched, much like the elaborate dinner his personal chef had prepared before discreetly departing. For 3 days, the transcript of Olivia's conversation had occupied his thoughts. He had accessed her personnel file, a breach of protocol that would horrify his own HR department, and pieced together the story her resume hadn't told. Judith Reed, 72, retired elementary school teacher, raising her granddaughters after. Their parents died in a car accident 12 years ago. Jenna Reed, 23, nursing student at Northwestern, scholarship covering only partial tuition. And Olivia, 29, who had worked 3 jobs simultaneously before landing the position at Nakamura Technologies. The revelation disturbed him in ways he couldn't articulate. Gabriel had built his empire from nothing, the son of a Brazilian mother and Japanese father who had immigrated to America with little more than determination. He understood sacrifice. Yet somewhere along his climb to success, he had forgotten to look back. His phone chimed with a message from Darius Williams, his childhood friend and now chief legal officer. Done. Set up the medical foundation. Anonymous. Donor arrangement complete. The hospital will contact her tomorrow. Gabriel typed back. And the other matter? University Bursar received the scholarship funds for her sister, all untraceable as requested. Relief washed over him, followed immediately by an unfamiliar feeling, something like shame. He wasn't accustomed to questioning his actions. When Gabriel Nakamura identified a problem, he solved it. Efficiently. Completely. Yet this solution felt hollow. Mr. Nakamura? Olivia's voice came through his intercom the next morning, unusually hesitant. Do you have a moment? When she entered his office, the change was subtle but unmistakable. Her shoulders, always perfectly straight, now seemed to carry less weight. Her eyes, typically focused and professional, held a bewildered brightness. The hospital called this morning, she began, her composure slipping just slightly. Apparently, my grandmother has been selected for a special research program. All her treatments will be covered by a medical foundation. She paused. And my sister just received notification of an anonymous merit scholarship. Gabriel maintained his neutral expression with practiced ease. That's fortunate. Yes, Olivia agreed, studying his face with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. Almost unbelievably so. Is there something you need, Ms. Reed? He redirected, turning to his computer. After a moment's hesitation, she replied, No, Mr. Nakamura. I just wanted to request leaving early on Friday to help move my grandmother to the new treatment facility. Of course. Take the whole day if necessary. When she left, Gabriel exhaled, slowly. The transaction was complete. Problem solved. He should have felt satisfied. Instead, an unsettling emptiness persisted, the same emptiness that had haunted his ultra-modern penthouse and his meticulously ordered life for years. That evening, breaking another personal rule, Gabriel accessed the building's security feed. He watched as Olivia worked well past 8, pausing only to make a phone call that left her smiling through tears. When she finally left, there was a lightness to her step that made something twist inside his chest. For the first time in years, Gabriel found himself remembering his mother. how she had cleaned houses during the day and worked restaurant shifts at night, how she had hidden her exhaustion behind proud smiles, how she had refused help even when it broke her. How different might their lives have been if someone had seen her, truly seen her. The following days brought subtle changes. Gabriel began timing his arrival to coincide with Olivia's, nodding good morning instead of proceeding straight to his office. He started asking for her input on projects rather than merely assigning tasks. During a particularly late evening preparing for an investor presentation, he ordered dinner for both of them. "You don't have to do that," Olivia said when the food arrived. "Consider it practical. I need your brain functioning at optimal capacity." His attempt at humor fell flat, his social skills rusty from disuse. To his surprise, she smiled, the first genuine smile she had ever directed at him. "Was that a joke, Mr. Nakamura?" "An attempt at one," he admitted. "Well, it almost worked." She accepted the container he offered. "Thank you." They ate in unexpected companionship, the usual barrier between employer and employee momentarily thinned. Gabriel found himself asking about her grandmother's treatment, listening as Olivia explained the medical procedures with impressive knowledge. "You would have made a good doctor," he observed. Something flickered across her face. Regret? Perhaps. "That was the original plan. I was pre-med when my parents died." The information wasn't in her file. "What changed?" "Reality," she answered simply. "Someone needed to provide for Jenna and Grandma. Dreams became luxuries we couldn't afford." The words struck him with uncomfortable familiarity. How many of his own dreams had he sacrificed at the altar of necessity? Their conversation was interrupted by his phone, the board chairman requesting an urgent call regarding acquisition. Rumors. As Gabriel excused himself, he noticed Olivia gathering her things to leave, maintaining the professional boundary he had momentarily forgotten. Alone in his office, Gabriel confronted an uncomfortable truth. His anonymous intervention, while solving immediate problems, had changed nothing fundamental about Olivia's situation. She remained one emergency away from crisis, perpetually sacrificing her own needs for others. More disturbingly, he recognized that his help had been less about her welfare and more about easing his own conscience, a realization that left him deeply unsettled. That night, as rain continued to batter Chicago, Gabriel made a decision. The distance he had cultivated throughout his life, the emotional walls that had protected him since childhood, had become a prison of his own making. Helping Olivia from the shadows wasn't enough. Something needed to change. And for the first time in decades, Gabriel Nakamura didn't have a strategic plan to follow. Unexpected allies. The quarterly board meeting ran 2 hours longer than scheduled, with Gabriel fielding questions about market expansion and defending his decision to delay the public offering. By the time the last board member filed out, tension had settled between his shoulder blades like a physical weight. "Your coffee." Olivia appeared at his side, offering a steaming cup prepared exactly as he preferred, black with a single ice cube to bring it to drinking temperature immediately. "Thank you." He accepted it, noticing the slight shadows beneath her eyes. "How is your grandmother's treatment progressing?" The question, personal, direct, seemed to surprise her. "Very well. The doctors are optimistic." She hesitated before adding, "The foundation sponsoring her treatment is called New Horizons Medical Fund. I've been trying to research it, but information is surprisingly limited." Gabriel maintained his neutral expression with practiced discipline. "Many private foundations value their privacy." "Yes, especially those that don't exist before 3 weeks ago." Her gaze was steady, challenging in a way she had never been before. "And especially those created just days before an anonymous donor pays for my sister's education." The silence between them stretched, charged with unspoken accusations. Gabriel had underestimated her resourcefulness. a mistake he rarely made twice. "You should be with your family this afternoon," he said finally. "Take the rest of the day." "I don't want your charity, Mr. Nakamura." Her voice remained professional, but carried an edge of steel. "I want an explanation." "Closed door," he replied, gesturing to his office. Once inside, Gabriel watched as Olivia paced the length of his minimalist office, her composure finally fracturing. "Did you have me investigated? Is that how you knew about my grandmother, about Jenna?" The hurt beneath her anger was palpable. "Was it pity? Or did you think I might steal office supplies to pay medical bills?" "I overheard your phone call." "That evening," Gabriel admitted. "The building security system flags after-hours communications." Understanding dawned on her face, followed quickly by embarrassment. "So you heard everything and decided to, what, play secret benefactor?" "I identified a problem and implemented a solution. My family is not a corporate issue to solve." For the first time since he'd known her, Olivia's voice rose. "Do you have any idea how this feels? To have the most private parts of your life exposed? To know your boss has been manipulating your family's situation behind your back?" The accusation stung more than he expected. "That wasn't my intention." "What was your intention then?" She stopped pacing, facing him directly. Gabriel found himself at a rare loss for words. The truth, that her situation had awakened something long dormant within him, seemed too personal to voice. Instead, he moved toward the floor-to-ceiling windows, gathering his thoughts. "When I was 12, he began slowly, my mother collapsed while working her second shift at a restaurant. Undiagnosed heart condition. We had no insurance, no savings. I watched hospital administrators discuss her life in terms of payment options." He felt rather than saw Olivia's approach, her reflection appearing beside his in the glass. "What happened?" she asked, her voice softened. A customer she had served regularly for years covered the treatment anonymously. She never knew who. Neither did I. He turned to face her. "She died anyway, 2 years later. Different heart attack. Same financial situation." Understanding dawned in Olivia's eyes. "So this was about your mother?" "No," Gabriel corrected. "It was about recognizing someone making the same sacrifices she made. It was about having the power to help when no one helped her." He paused. "But I was wrong to do it without your knowledge. I apologize." Olivia studied him as if seeing him for the first time. "I always thought you were cold, detached." "The media has many colorful descriptors." "Untouchable," she finished. "Like nothing ever affected you." Something in her assessment made him uncomfortable. Had he become so removed from genuine human connection? "I'll cancel the arrangements," he offered, "if that's what you want." "And let my grandmother lose her treatment? Let Jenna drop out?" Olivia shook her head. "I'm not proud enough to hurt them." She moved toward his desk, picking up a framed quantum equation, the algorithm that had launched his first company. "But I want to earn this, not as your charity case, but as a professional." "You already earn your salary, Ms. Reed." "I want more responsibility," she countered. "The Henderson Project, I've studied the market analyses. I have ideas that could improve the implementation strategy." Gabriel raised an eyebrow, impressed by her boldness. "The Henderson Project is our largest acquisition this year." "I'm aware. I'm also aware that your development team has overlooked significant cultural integration challenges in the European offices." Her assessment was accurate, something his executive team had missed in their preliminary reports. Gabriel found himself intrigued not just by her insight, but by her determination to maintain her dignity. "Monday morning, 7 a.m., bring your full analysis and recommendations." He extended his hand, offering a business agreement rather than charity. Olivia accepted the handshake, her grip firm. "Thank you for helping my family," she said quietly. "But please, no more secrets." After she left, Gabriel remained by the window, watching as she crossed the plaza below. The confrontation had left him oddly energized. The stagnant emptiness of recent years momentarily lifted. His phone buzzed, Darius calling again about acquisition rumors. Before answering, Gabriel made another decision. He opened his computer and began transferring project files to Olivia's secure account, including confidential data normally reserved for executive level. If she wanted to earn her way, he would give her the opportunity to truly prove herself. What he couldn't explain, even to himself, was why her opinion of him suddenly mattered so much. That evening, as Gabriel worked in his penthouse, a notification appeared on his screen. Olivia, accessing the files he'd shared, already at work despite the late hour. He found himself smiling at her determination. For the first time in years, Gabriel felt something that had been absent from his carefully constructed life: anticipation for what tomorrow might bring. Bridges built. The Henderson acquisition proposal lay open on the conference room table, Olivia's neat annotations visible along the margins. Gabriel studied the document, impressed despite himself. She had identified 3 critical integration issues his executive team had missed, and proposed solutions that were both practical and innovative. "Your analysis is thorough," he acknowledged as Olivia concluded her presentation. "The cultural assessment of the European offices is particularly insightful." A slight flush colored her cheeks, but her posture remained professional. "Thank you, Mr. Nakamura." "Gabriel," he corrected, surprising them both. "When we're working directly on projects, Gabriel is fine." 2 weeks had passed since their confrontation, establishing a new dynamic between them. During days, they maintained professional boundaries, with Olivia taking on expanded responsibilities beyond her administrative role. During evenings, they often worked late, their conversations gradually venturing beyond business into more personal territory. "I'd like you to present this section at the executive committee meeting tomorrow," Gabriel decided, indicating her cultural integration strategy. Alarm flashed across her face. "The executive committee? But I'm not—" "You developed the strategy. You should present it." His tone left no room for argument. "This is what you asked for, Olivia. More responsibility, more opportunity to prove yourself." She nodded, gathering her composure. "I'll be prepared." The following day, Gabriel watched as Olivia entered the executive boardroom, her burgundy blazer a stark contrast to the sea of gray and navy suits. The committee members, mostly men in their 50s with decades of corporate experience, regarded her with polite skepticism. "Ms. Reed will present the cultural integration strategy for the Henderson acquisition," Gabriel announced, noting. They exchanged glances among his executives. For the first 30 seconds, her voice trembled slightly. Then something shifted. Her shoulders straightened, her chin lifted, and she began speaking with quiet authority about cross-cultural management techniques and implementation timelines. By the time she concluded, even Thomas Harrington, the notoriously critical CFO, was nodding in approval. "Impressive analysis, Ms. Reed," Thomas commented. "Where did you study international business?" "I didn't," Olivia replied honestly. "I was pre-med before personal circumstances required a change of direction. But I've been studying international business models independently." The room fell silent, executives reassessing the young woman they had dismissed as merely Gabriel's assistant. Before anyone could respond, the door opened and Darius Williams entered, his expression grave. "We need to discuss the Fisher situation," he said to Gabriel. Immediately, the meeting adjourned, but as executives filed out, Gabriel noticed several stopping to speak with Olivia, business cards exchanged, connections forming. Something close to pride stirred in his chest. "What's happening with Fisher?" Gabriel asked. "Once he and Darius were alone, he's gone public with allegations that you stole his quantum encryption framework." Darius handed him a tablet displaying the morning's financial news. "The board is concerned. Our stock dropped 12 points in the first hour of trading." Richard Fisher, Gabriel's former research partner and now chief competitor. Their falling out 7 years ago had been both professional and deeply personal. "His claims are baseless," Gabriel replied, scanning the article. "The framework was developed after our partnership dissolved." "He's claiming evidence, emails, development notes." Darius hesitated. "And he's bringing Elise into it." Gabriel went still. Elise. A name he hadn't heard spoken aloud in years. What does she have to do with this? "Fisher says she'll testify, that you discussed the framework concepts while you were still partners." The accusation struck like a physical blow. Elise had been his fiancée before leaving him for Fisher, a betrayal that had driven Gabriel to rebuild his life around work and achievement rather than human connection. "Get our legal team on this," Gabriel instructed, his voice carefully, controlled. "Full response strategy by end of day." When Darius left, Gabriel remained motionless, memories he had buried rising unwelcome to the surface. The double betrayal by his partner and the woman he had planned to marry. The months of isolation that followed. The walls he had built to ensure he would never be vulnerable again. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Olivia stood in the doorway, hesitant. "I can come back later," she offered, sensing his mood. "No, it's fine." Gabriel gestured for her to enter. "The presentation was excellent." "Thank you." She placed a folder on his desk. "These are the additional regional analyses you requested." She paused, clearly debating whether to continue. "Is everything all right?" The meeting ended rather abruptly. Something about her genuine concern breached his usual reserve. "Richard Fisher has made public allegations regarding intellectual property theft," he explained. "It's a complicated situation." Understanding dawned in her eyes. "The quantum encryption framework. I remember reading about the dispute when I researched the company before my interview." "You researched the framework dispute?" Most people barely understood the business applications of quantum encryption, let alone the technical disputes behind them. "I research everything thoroughly," she replied with a small smile, "including the personal history between you, Fisher, and Elise Winters." The mention of Elise's name from Olivia's lips was jarring. "That was a long time ago." "But still painful," she observed quietly. "Some wounds don't heal just because time passes." Their eyes met, mutual understanding passing between them, both knowing what it meant to carry invisible scars. "Fisher's allegations will be disproven," Gabriel said firmly. "But the process will be unpleasant." "You don't have to face it alone," Olivia replied. Then, seeming to realize the personal nature of her comment, she quickly added, "Professionally speaking, I could help compile the development timeline, organize the documentary evidence." The offer touched him more than he cared to admit. "Thank you." As she turned to leave, Gabriel found himself asking, "How is your grandmother's treatment progressing?" Olivia's expression brightened. "Remarkably well. The doctors are calling it a textbook response. Jenna is convinced it's a miracle." "And you? What do you believe?" She considered the question thoughtfully. "I believe that sometimes help comes from unexpected places, and that maybe the universe has a way of balancing things eventually." After she left, Gabriel sat alone with her words echoing in his mind. Balance. His life had been anything but balanced for years. All work, achievement, and ambition with nothing personal to anchor him. The following weeks brought mounting pressure, as Fisher's allegations gained traction in the industry. The board called emergency meetings. Investors demanded reassurances. Through it all, Olivia worked tirelessly alongside Gabriel, organizing evidence, preparing responses, becoming an unexpected ally in the crisis. Late one evening, as they reviewed legal briefs in his office, Gabriel noticed her stifling a yawn. "You should go home," he said. "It's past midnight." "So should you," she countered. When was the last time you slept more than 4 hours? Sleep is inefficient. Sleep is necessary, she corrected, her tone gently admonishing. Even for billionaire geniuses, the casual teasing, something no one had dared with him in years, made him smile despite his exhaustion. I'll sleep when this is resolved. Olivia studied him with concern. You never talk about it. What happened with Fisher and Elise? Not even when it's all over the business news. What's there to say? My business partner and fiancé decided they preferred each other's company to mine. He kept his tone detached, clinical. A common enough story. Is that why you keep everyone at a distance? Because of what they did? The directness of her question caught him off guard. No one in his circle would dare speak to him so plainly. I keep professional boundaries because they're efficient, he replied. That's not an answer, Gabriel. The use of his first name, rare despite his permission weeks ago, emphasized the shift in their relationship. They were no longer merely employer and employee, but something more complicated. Yes, he admitted finally. After Fisher and Elise, I decided emotional entanglements were a vulnerability I couldn't afford. Olivia nodded, absorbing his words without judgment. When my parents died, I made a similar decision. Loving people meant the risk of losing them, so I focused entirely on taking care of Grandma and Jenna. No relationships, no close friendships, nothing that could distract me or hurt me. A logical choice, Gabriel agreed. A lonely one, she corrected gently. For both of us. Their eyes met across his desk, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Two people who had built walls for protection, now finding unexpected windows in those defenses. Before either could speak again, Gabriel's phone rang. Darius, with news that would either save or destroy everything Gabriel had built. Beyond boundaries, the evening sky over Chicago blazed orange and crimson as Gabriel stood on the rooftop garden of Nakamura Technologies. 6 months had passed since Richard Fisher's allegations had threatened to destroy everything he had built. 6 months of legal battles, media scrutiny, and sleepless nights. And now, finally, vindication. Mr. Nakamura? Olivia's voice came from behind him. The champagne you requested. He turned to see her carrying a tray with 2 glasses and a bottle. Her hair, usually pulled back in a practical style, fell in soft waves around her shoulders. The formal black dress she wore for the board celebration downstairs was a departure from her usual professional attire. Thank you. He took the bottle, noting the label with approval. Dom Perignon 2010. You remembered? That you mentioned it once 4 months ago as your preferred celebration choice? Of course. She smiled. Organization is my superpower, remember? Gabriel opened the bottle with practiced ease, filling both glasses. To victory, he offered, raising his glass. To truth, she countered, clinking her glass against his. The truth had indeed prevailed. Elise Winters had ultimately refused to support Fisher's false claims, instead providing evidence that exonerated Gabriel completely. The quantum encryption framework had been developed after their partnership dissolved, exactly as Gabriel had maintained. Fisher's company is facing an SEC investigation, Gabriel said, gazing out at the skyline. The board has approved our countersuit for defamation. Will you pursue it? Olivia asked. Gabriel considered the question. What would you advise? Over the past months, he had come to value her perspective, not just on business matters, but on human considerations his analytical mind sometimes overlooked. I think, she said carefully, that moving forward might be more valuable than looking back. Her wisdom struck him again, this ability she had to distill complex emotional situations to their essence. The board celebration seems to be going well, Gabriel observed, changing the subject. You orchestrated it perfectly. Hardly a challenge after managing the last 6 months. Her expression grew serious. But now that the crisis is over, we should discuss my role. Something in her tone made him uneasy. Your role? The expanded responsibilities, the executive committee involvement. Those were crisis measures. With things returning to normal, I should return to my official position as your assistant. The thought of reverting to their former dynamic, distant, impersonal, felt strangely hollow. During the past months, Olivia had become more than an employee. She had become his confidant, his sounding board, perhaps the only person who truly saw beyond the persona of Gabriel Nakamura, billionaire CEO. Unless, Gabriel found himself saying, we formalize your new role, Director of Strategic Integration. Surprise flickered across her face. That's an executive position. You've been functioning at an executive level for months. The board respects you. The team listens to you. He paused. I listen to you. Olivia set down her champagne glass, her expression troubled. If this is because of my family situation, it's because you're exceptional at what you do, Gabriel interrupted. Your personal circumstances have nothing to do with this offer. Don't. They? She challenged. You've been helping my family for months, Gabriel. The medical foundation, Jenna's scholarship, the consulting opportunity you arranged for my grandmother when she recovered. All generous, all appreciated, but all connected to me. He couldn't deny it. Is that wrong? It's complicated, she admitted. Sometimes I wonder if our entire relationship is built on your desire to help and my need to be helped. The word relationship hung between them, loaded with unspoken meaning. Is that what you believe? Gabriel asked quietly. Olivia moved to the edge of the rooftop garden, the city lights reflecting in her eyes. I don't know what to believe anymore. 6 months ago, you were my enigmatic, unreachable boss. Now I'm what? She turned to face him, vulnerability evident in her expression. Now you're the first person I want to tell when something good happens. The person whose opinion matters most to me. The person who somehow broke through every wall I built after my parents died. Her honesty left him momentarily speechless. Gabriel Nakamura, who negotiated billion-dollar deals without hesitation, found himself uncertain how to navigate this moment. When Fisher's allegations first emerged, he finally said, You asked why I keep everyone at a distance. Olivia nodded, remembering. What I didn't say then was that it worked perfectly until you. Gabriel moved closer, close enough to see the surprise in her eyes. Until I overheard you that evening, putting everyone else's needs before your own. Until I recognized something in you that reminded me of everything I'd forgotten about human connection. Gabriel, let me finish, he said gently. The help I've given your family, it was never charity or pity. It was recognition of your worth, your sacrifices. And yes, it began that way. But somewhere along these months, everything changed. What changed? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I changed. The admission felt like releasing a weight he'd carried for years. The man who believed vulnerability was weakness, who built his life around avoiding emotional entanglements, he doesn't exist anymore. You unmade him, Olivia. The truth of his words resonated between them, the city noise fading to background, as they stood facing each other, no longer employer and employee, but simply two people who had found in each other something neither expected. I don't want you as my assistant, or even as my director of strategic integration, Gabriel continued, though the position is yours if you want it. What I want is much simpler and infinitely more complicated. Understanding dawned in her eyes. What do you want, Gabriel? You. In my life. Not because I helped your family, or because you helped save my company, but because when I'm with you, I remember who I was before loss and betrayal hardened me. Because you see me, not the billionaire, not the CEO, just me. Olivia's eyes shimmered, with unshed tears. I've been fighting this for months, she confessed, telling myself it was gratitude or professional admiration. Anything but what it really is. And what is it? Gabriel asked, his heart racing with an unfamiliar vulnerability. Instead of answering with words, Olivia closed the distance between them. Her hand rested lightly on his chest, feeling his heartbeat beneath her palm. Then, with the same quiet determination she brought to everything, she rose on her toes and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was gentle, questioning, and over almost before it began. Yet in that brief moment, the last walls between them crumbled completely. When she pulled away, Gabriel saw in her eyes the same wonder he felt, the recognition that sometimes the most unexpected connections become the most profound. I should warn you, Olivia said softly. I have terms. Despite everything, Gabriel found himself smiling. Of course you do. Complete honesty. No more anonymous help or secret interventions. We face things together or not at all. Agreed, he replied, without hesitation. Any other conditions? Yes. Her expression grew serious. My career advancement happens on merit alone, not because of us. I'll take the director position, but I'll earn every promotion from there. Gabriel nodded, respecting her determination. Anything else? Just one more thing. A smile tugged at her lips. You need to call my grandmother and formally introduce yourself. She's suspected for months that you were behind her miracle recovery. She keeps calling you that nice Japanese boy and asking when you're coming to Sunday dinner. The thought of Sunday dinners, family gatherings, the normal human connections he had denied himself for so long filled Gabriel with an unexpected warmth. I think that can be arranged, he said, taking her hand in his. Below them, the board celebration continued, executives unaware that on the rooftop, Gabriel Nakamura's carefully constructed world had been completely transformed, not by crisis or business triumph, but by the simple, profound recognition that true strength isn't found in isolation, but in the courage to be seen, known, and loved, even with all one's flaws and scars. As Chicago's lights sparkled around them, Gabriel and Olivia remained on the rooftop, two souls who had found in each other not just romance, but healing, the kind that comes only when silence finally speaks louder than words.